Welcome to the Light Renegades. My name is Starr. For those that might find themselves here for the first time, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We are in, I guess, an in-between stage right now with regards to messages from Crow. I know that he is wanting to share so much more, and we are having to take it slow, everyone, where we find ourselves, which I know that he's finding incredibly frustrating. And I have been sat under a layer of frustration and anger since yesterday, and I wasn't entirely sure why this was coming to the surface, apart from knowing that I was going to be releasing it under the Sagittarius moon, so that I had, a higher level of understanding to come forward after that fact. And that's exactly what happened today. I have been given so many downloads with regards to what is actually happening right now and the energies that are in possession of this realm, where we find ourselves, everyone. And it has been mind-blowing. I know that we know this information, but to have it come forward again in such blatant terms, it's just, it rocks the system. And I don't think I was quite prepared for the day that I've had. Crow has been in all of my spaces today. He was present when I was channeling for my other channel, Elemental Origins 2.2, where I do my tarot and oracle readings. And this message that came forward from yesterday with regards to the 12-12 portal and where we find ourselves right now is this idea that 2024 is going to be the time of justice. It's going to be the time of things coming to light that has been karmically out of balance for some time. And my personal spaces are being brought to the forefront with regards to that as well, everyone. And I have been I guess a little bit apprehensive to bring forward everything that I know at this time, because I think that it's just so incredibly raw, I think. And once you start to see the way in which information is brought forward to us and is incredibly hidden in plain sight, I think that's where my anger comes from. I realize I'm not angry so much at these souls that are partaking in things behind closed doors. It's more of the blatantness of how this information is brought forward to the masses, and to play on this idea of that they can't see what's right in front of them. And I think that the idea of these entities bringing such darkness forward and seeing any soul as lesser than them, I think infuriates me to my core. And that's something I'm having to work on in my spaces. But Crow brings forward this idea of that his fire is very necessary in some spaces, and I feel like my energy aligns with that also. So for those that might be here for the first time and none of this is making sense, you might want to start at the beginning of this series, or go to the Darkness playlist and start from the very beginning of that series, so you can kind of understand why I find myself channeling Aleister Crowley at this time and what that means for all of us moving forward. I'm bringing forward information for the disclosure of the reptilian order, the negative reptilian order, and also this layer of I guess timelines that are connected to biblical essence in a way, and this idea of Christ consciousness and Luciferian energies and Satan and darkness, and most importantly at the moment, demons, everyone. And I'm going to speak a little bit more after this channeling, because Aleister mentioned something in some spaces that I've been in this weekend. I will explain a little bit more afterwards. But today's channeling was called What I Was, and we've got a lot to get through everybody today, so please bear with me. And he started with, today's a tough one. I apologize, but it's time to bring all to light. This dear soul has been in the brink of the dark for quite some time, in the eye of the storm with the weight of so many. This has been because of me, because of my work, all that I wrote and that I did in my lifetime. I'm here to confess that I knew somewhere deep down that I wasn't what I thought I was. It's difficult to explain, but you just feel it. There would be moments where I would sink into a space of utter terror and despair. Somewhere I knew that to be my truth, and to be the space of my fullest understanding, that to be the space where I knew I would someday return. I went to the gates of hell. I've been scolded beyond imaginable where you find yourselves now. This week, this dear soul and I have spent some time releasing souls whom I once harmed. Those that lost their lives and got stuck in the parallels of pain. This is something I did not know about in my incarnation as you would have known me. Some souls, their trauma is too palpable, they fear stepping into the light and become trapped. Or rather, perceive themselves to be trapped. There are layers to all existence. There are layers to all that is. There is a liminal space where souls live that they feel only pain and suffering. Time and time and time again, I was sending souls here. I did not know what I was doing. I run cold at the thought of all that was. I run cold at the thought of all that I became. Today, I wish to confess that my understandings were much wider than I let on, than we let on, than the notion of thelema taught. Many of you know I was conversing with a guardian angel. I knew this to be no mere angel, rather an extraterrestrial of sorts. I believed myself to be of a higher order. I believed that I was invincible somewhere. The darkness does that to one's soul. You believe you are everything and that nothing or no one else matters. I was this entity. I was this type of being. My heart already poured out. I had nothing left to give. I've been shown the inner workings of all that exists in the here and the now, and what part I played. They are marking anchors strategically all across the world to try and anchor in more darkness. There are demons everywhere. There are dark beings everywhere. I know this sounds like fantasy, but it is not. Why do you think your movies depict of such creatures? They all live somewhere. You've heard this dear one speak of her vampiric essence, other self, or avatar. I came across such beings in my lifetime. They taught me many things behind closed doors, how to feed, how to gain energy from blood, and how to make sure no one else would trace my steps where I was hiding all my truths. What you must understand is that the fabric of your existence lies within the balance of so many beings. There are more creatures alive that live underground, in mountains, in the most desolate landscapes because humans cannot survive there. You know of Antarctica, but there are many more pockets of darkness this dear one has been exploring. She's been penetrating these spaces and catching fire to those that needed eradicating. It is an abomination of mine to have to confess I was the one conjuring up these beings for a very long time. My work was the start of, or rather a chapter of the new world order. The darkness they seek. I'm ashamed of all that I work towards. The power of such energies has riddled the bodies of so many and those so young. It's pumped through your devices daily, your water systems, your air. Your eyes do not see the truth. It is only those that seek to see with eyes shut that know. I must confess here that all know. Everyone that you see that is in power, they are ruling the darkness. They are entwined, embedded, and they do not care about you. You dear souls are the true heroes of these realms, shining your light within the darkness and still holding space for love for all those that cause harm. I must admit, I'm not so close to feeling the love for all just yet, although I feel my fire helps to fuel all that I must face before my time ends in battle. I think that enough for today, but more to come. I know there are questions. I shall answer them all. A. Crow. And I feel like I'm not entirely sure where to start with all of this, everyone, because there are so many overlapping parts to all that I'm being given information on at this time. And you know, when I very first started to hear of Aleister Crowley's teachings, where I find myself awake, I started to see a pattern emerging, and this idea of, you know, Egyptian understanding and extraterrestrial, I guess, essences being sprinkled in with regards to the dark energies as well, and spell work, and how the two could overlap and entwine. And I wasn't entirely sure how it worked because I felt like there were two very separate realms. And as some of you may know that are up to date, I've been kind of dipping my toe into Scientology and trying to understand that a little bit deeper. But the information that came through today in a download was that the idea of Scientology is actually stemming from the negative reptilian order. So these beings, I can't remember the name of them. I will make sure to tag this in the darkness video that I will do a full update on. But the idea of the beings that have come down, that the Scientologists believe in, it is just the negative reptilian order that we are facing within that realm. And this means that everything else kind of falls in line within that too. So if you think of how big Scientology is and how many celebrities are entwined in that realm, then I feel like all of this starts to make a little bit more sense. And as some of you know, I find myself in celebrity land, and I'm not entirely sure why, but that's just a space where I've been, you know, given my understanding this lifetime. And it's incredibly interesting to me to start to see this all unpack and unravel, and it all just be the same space. We are dealing with the negative reptilian order, and there is pockets of other entities joining in that alliance somewhere. And what I'm facing right now in my own personal journey is, are demons, everyone, to some extent. And where I find myself placed planetary wise right now is in a spot that has a lot of underground tunnels. And I started to realize that this is why I was placed here, because there is a lot of goings on underneath the ground, where I find myself and my hometown, and where I've spent a lot of my life. So I've been transmuting a lot of energy within the space just existing here. So the times when I wasn't awake, I was transmuting this energy. And some that have been watching my videos for some time, you'll know that I had quite a tumultuous, lifetime this lifetime, and life just didn't really make that much sense to me. I was incredibly confused, and I just felt under a veil, under a layer of pain that I couldn't explain, that I felt like not everyone else was experiencing. And, you know, to some extent, we all are suffering in this pain. Everyone that is living right now, we are essentially imprisoned on planet Earth. And, you know, I feel like that is an understanding that we can all understand somewhere, but the magnitude of what that actually means is quite terrifying, I think, to a lot of people. And you know, I think go easy with this, and remember that you are in control of your own realms. And this is something that I'm starting to get a full grasp on, everyone. And Alistair mentioned that, you know, this week, well, not just this week, but for a real long time, I've been behind the scenes fighting lots of dark spaces and going in and literally pulling out energies, pulling out entities and killing them somewhere. And, you know, I've been toying with how much of that I, one, enjoy, to I feel like I'm capable of taking that on, because it's incredibly difficult to stay in those realms and then, you know, try and go and have tea with a friend after I've been pulling out demons in a different timeline, different space. I've been finding it really hard to find that balance of, you know, being in those realms and trying to be in this, I don't know, more 3D plane of existence, everyone. So I've been really having to battle with myself, my own shadow, and my own understanding of self, and, you know, how much I feel like I was capable to be continuing on that path. And you know, knowing that this is something that I chose to partake in this lifetime, but also knowing that I have free will. And I've been, since the beginning of my awakening, I have been sending souls into the light. You know, I started in the realm of spirit, which some of you might know already. So this galactic energy didn't come in till at least probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years into me starting to awaken. So I was in spiritual realms. I was dealing with mediumship. I was, you know, connecting to spiritual entities. And then everything took a shift, and then I was introduced to myself as understanding my soul to be of a Pleiadian essence. And you know, I continued to work within spirit, but sending more souls into the light. And I was told that this was something I was going to be doing, continuing throughout my lifetime, but there wasn't that many spaces where I was practicing that. But you know, lo and behold, things are coming full circle, and I've been guiding a lot of souls back into the light that Alistair has put in certain spaces, certain fragmented aspects, because of all the teachings that he's brought forward, and for all of the souls that, you know, he was tormenting, torturing and killing in his incarnation. And you know, it's astounding to me just how impactful these realms are, but also just how dense these realms are with beings also, everyone. And my sight has been coming on a lot stronger. It's been my last class to come on, is sort of like seeing entities, and this week beings have just been here and here and here and here. And I know that at some point in my life when I was really young, this was something that I was experiencing, and it was incredibly overwhelming, and I think I was just terrified. So I started to shut that side of myself down. And granted, this has all been part of my growth and my expansion and my journey, but I'm now starting to wake up to all the realms existing all at once and seeing it all. And there are beings everywhere, everyone, and specifically there is a lot of demonic energy that is running through everything. And I will speak a little bit more about this in the darkness update, because it is the demons that are running these realms right now. And I've been guided to my own personal journey where I've been pulling people that I know this lifetime out of my timelines and going down to the very bottom of their essence and finding out, that they are of a demonic energy. And starting to understand that my whole entire life has basically been mission after mission after mission, meeting people and, having some sort of interaction with them that wasn't the best. And I was sent in for judgment of those souls, judgment of those demonic entities somewhere. How they treated me was how they were going to be stepping forward karmically in the next part of their lives. And this is coming full circle for some people now in my real time, everyone, which has left me under a layer of, I guess, complete and utter despair somewhere, also complete and utter comfort somewhere, but also this idea of like my life just not being my own. And knowing that I had so many soul contracts this lifetime that I've been partaking in. And I very much felt like that for a lot of my life. It was just like, I don't understand what I'm doing, why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. I didn't feel satisfied, and I just felt like I was just kind of rolling through life. And I think a lot of people saw me as just like bumbling through life, not really knowing what I was doing. And that's exactly how I felt. But lo and behold, I knew exactly what I was doing, and I was fulfilling these soul contracts. So it felt like I didn't know what I was doing because I wasn't in control. My higher self, all of those, other beings on the other side were in control, which is why I think I just felt a little bit chaotic here. And I spent a lot of time in the dark and rolling around in the dark with a lot of demons, everyone. So there's been a lot for me to understand and to process today, and to bring forward in my spaces too, of this understanding. And this idea of me being sent here to call judgment on other souls feels like a massive weight to comprehend. And I take complete ego out of that sentence. There is no part of me that wishes to be here to be that thing. And somewhere I am crying inside that I've had to be that for some souls. And the pain that I've gone through in certain situations and scenarios with people, that I now understand there was a higher purpose for it all. But that doesn't mean that it was easy, or that I find it easy to know that these souls somewhere are of an incredibly dark nature. If anything, I think that it's just, I'm a little bit shell-shocked still. I think everyone, and I'm trying to come to terms with it all. And I'm sure you will feel that too. And there'll be many of you out here that are mirroring my understandings and what I've been going through this lifetime, because that's your life too. And I know so many souls are stepping forward that I've had the pleasure of having one-to-ones with, and I'm incredibly grateful for you stepping forward, and for us to be able to help each other at this point and get through this next phase, this next new layer of everything. But something else I wanted to share, well, I didn't want to share, Teams of Light want me to share, and Alistair wants me to share. And I ask everyone to come to these channelings with an open mind and with the utmost amount of respect for me in this space, because I do try and share as much as I can as possible, and it sends me into incredibly vulnerable states. And this is going to be a sharing that is quite vulnerable, and I would respect everyone respecting my boundaries and my privacy, I guess, somewhere, with regards to people that might be watching that know me in my personal and present time. So just be aware that I might not want to be speaking about these things on a daily basis if you do bump into me. And I still keep this as a workspace, so please have that in mind if you do see me and you want to be conversing with me about such things. This is not something that I want just dropping down at the pub with some friends. Thank you. And I don't know why that felt important to share, but this week I was guided into a space of sacred touch, I'm going to say, with self, and this being of a very different understanding that I've ever experienced before, and coming into, I guess, a heightened state of awareness of my body going into what felt like a different liminal space, and then being shown darker aspects of all existence in that space. And I didn't know what was happening at that time. I was, very much just going into it in an explorative sense. And I wasn't speaking to any teams of light at this time because it's quite an intimate space to try and bring guides in. But I could feel their presence there and that I was being held in that space. But I realized soon, after entering into that space, I was getting into the spaces that Crow had been in with his teachings, with this idea of, going through states of pleasure, and that being a way to access a different portal space into darker aspects of energies. And that was what I was viewing. And it's an incredibly, it's an incredibly vulnerable state to be in, because I guess, the body sinks into a layer of relaxation, and then you are met with some, entities and images that are of such a dark nature, and you feel that somewhere. But there is a layer of that that's almost like an adrenaline kicks in as well in there somewhere. And I thought, I can see where this can be incredibly addictive. And I am a soul that's always been asking so many questions this lifetime, to the point where I would annoy teachers, I would annoy family, I would annoy friends, because I would just say, but why? Or why is that? And can you explain that more to me? I've just been a soul that always wanted to seek more truth. And I now understand why I've been this way, and why this helps me where I find myself right now, because I just don't stop until I find, the bottom of the truth of something. And I think, to the dismay of a lot of people, a lot of souls, especially dark souls out here right now, because I'm not going to stop. But there was this energy that I thought, this can be incredibly addictive. And I see how Crow got sucked into this energy and just continued and continued and continued and continued to explore and explore and explore. And then I thought, imagine beings coming in and saying, the more you do this, you gain that, you can have this notoriety, you can have this, coming from a space of a soul that was incredibly heartbroken and just seeking validation somewhere. I thought, I understand how everything completely snowballed out of control, and why he found himself in such I guess dire spaces, doing unimaginable things to souls. There is a layer of the taboo that is exhilarating somewhere to the human physical vessel. And I thought, I understand. It doesn't make it right, but I can understand why and how this comes to be, and why so many souls are continuing to seek that path where they find themselves right now stuck. And I guess afraid somewhere. Crow brings forward this idea of this layer of terror that would snap into his plane of existence. And that is something that I've experienced, time and time again this lifetime. It's like I would snap awake into existence before I was awake, and just feel the most amounts of utter dread and I guess existential dread and crisis somewhere. And it was like I was waking up to all that I am this lifetime, and all that I was capable of doing, and I guess everything that I was involved in, but I wasn't in the conscious full frontal awareness at that time, that I would just feel into these energies, and then I would sink back into my understanding and lulling my senses. But there was a layer of terror that I guess is still there, and that's what the collective is feeling. Those that are aren't fully awake to these spaces, there is a layer that they snap into, and it causes fear, it causes terror, because it is not something that they've been expressed or experienced this lifetime yet. And I think that is what we are battling with this year, coming into 2024, is that those souls that are awakening and being in utter fear, everyone. So please have that in mind when you are discussing these spaces, perhaps with new people. It might be too much, and trust your intuition and go easy, everyone. But I could keep talking today. There is so much that Crow wants to bring forward, and I will continue to do so in due time, everyone. But please do check out the darkness video, because I'm going to be linking the two, because there's going to be more that I want to bring over in that separate space, because there is more about other beings this lifetime, not necessarily connected to Alistair directly, that I want to speak about. So that's all for today with me and Crow, and yeah, please do check out the darkness update, everyone, but take care.